Hey guys, this is Irie Starcraft, and I'm gonna be casting another super mega awesome 2v2 match for you tonight. This is going to be on High Orbit, which is a map I do not do often as far as cast, but it is definitely a map that I see a lot when I play 2v2s, and I'll talk about this map in just a second. But right now, let me introduce the players. We have DrHughJicok, the red Protoss, and choboness, the blue Terran, against UteRaptor, the teal Terran, and Antimatter, the purple Protoss. And we've seen a game or two from Antimatter, and they have been quite entertaining. So yeah, this map, this is High Orbit, and it's another one of those long rush distance maps, probably one that if you saw a few games back, probably a map that ProTech would call a noob map. And I'm guessing now the reason I don't see him play too many games on these maps is either it is because he has checked them off on his preferences, or it is because he has gotten his ass kicked many times on that map, on these maps, though I find that hard to believe because ProTech's winning percentage is absolutely outrageous if you take a look at the rankings. Anyway, just to blabber on about some of the 2v2 rankings, because this game, by the way, this map there's probably not going to be much rushing pressure partly because there's no Zerg players in this game, which is not too common because I swear in almost every one of these games I've been casting there has been at least one Zerg player, and the Zerg's early Zerglings has dictated the rest of the entire game. So it'll be very interesting to see. A quick shout out to, I think it was Adam, who was requesting some more Protoss and Terrans. Well, here you go, PT versus PT. So take what you will from this matchup. I'm very excited to see a game reach the mid game probably on this map, as it is quite the long rush distance. I was blabbing on about the rankings because most of the teams at the top, pretty much, almost all the teams up there, even at the top, have winning percentages of in the high 60s, low 70 percentages. However, ProTech's, most of his teams are at a much higher clip, about 80-85%, though a lot of them have fewer games played. So I wonder if that is just because ProTech is so awesome, or if it is partly because of the fact that that a lot of his early games were played against lesser competition to build the wins up. I'm not sure. I remember in the last game, I was going to talk about Sorcery's rankings as well, as him and IG, where I was saying that they were climbing up the ladder board. No, they're actually number 138. But their winning percentage is 93%. So that was something I was going to introduce in the last game with Sorcery and IG, where I didn't have time to because there was some proxy walling going on that I had to start talking about. So either way, yeah, that's enough about the 2v2 rankings and percentages and whatnot, because that is just a bunch of blabber right now, because we do see Dr. Hugh, I'll just go with Dr. Hugh. He is getting 2 additional gateways, so possibly we're going to see a Blink Stalker push from him at the beginning. The factory is already done with a tech lab for choboness, and he's getting a second factory out. So he's definitely going to be going with some kind of mech build. Are we going to see some Hellions? No, we do see now Siege Tech is underway for choboness, opting to go straight for the tech before even getting a siege tank produced. So just now the siege tank is coming out. So are we going to see some quick siege tanks to set up outside of the front here, and then possibly some Blink Stalkers trying to get inside of the base from the red player? No, actually I miscalled that. Another gateway is coming down. There will be a pseudo 4-gate push here, as his warp gate is already completed. And now they will be taken out, and one of them is going to be securing this gold here. As I wanted to talk about this map a little bit more, there's a lot of wide open space here in the middle between the two areas. There are high yield expansions right in front of the shared base entrance here, though both teams should be wary of the backdoor destructible debris. So always a good idea to throw down a pylon or supply depot or overload over there, and neither team has done that yet, but we'll see if that comes into play later, because there's always some potential for sneakiness coming in for those backdoor rocks. And one other thing is there are some fairly easily defended expansions over here because they are combined base down here with only, well, there's these two entrances here, but there's one general direction in and out of this base back here. But we are going to see an engagement here as the siege tech for choboness is already set up, but that quickly gets sniped down. A couple of force fields splitting up those stalkers, so a few of those go down, and look at the force fields in the back, forcing this this bio ball in the back to sort of waste some of that stim, now trying to come around the side and pick off this tank. But this bunker coming down just in the nick of time for choboness. So so DrHugh and choboness opting to not necessarily attack right away, but an aggressive expansion push, and now they are going to, as we see, choboness has emptied his barracks. They're going to try and counter this attack, so probably a good move. But because there is not much to defend here, though there is one Void Ray out for Antimatter that did take a lot of damage that I didn't even notice in the battle there. I'm sorry about that. But we do see two Void Rays combined with those Stalkers for Antimatter, so this will be difficult to break. The Hellion is just coming up here to do some scouting, probably needs to pull back, but no, the Stalkers going to try and focus on some of these Marauders, doing a good job there of splitting off this army, but with the Void Ray support in the back, this army is going to get beat up pretty bad. Those Void Rays now getting mostly charged up there and opting to just stay back here, forcing that attack back nicely. So we have seen a bit of an eclectic strategy here. For those of you like Adam who are looking for some interesting strategies for Protoss Terran, or any race for that matter, the quick siege tanks from choboness, and then the standard 4-gate from DrHugh. He does have this Warp Prism. I wonder if he's going to try and do anything tricky with that. Maybe come back in around here and start warping in units in the back. The Twilight Council is just now coming down for DrHugh. So we're not going to be seeing any Dark Templars coming in the back here, at least not for a while. He is getting an Immortal as well to try and help deal with these Stalkers, though. These Void Rays, is Antimatter going to continue making Void Rays? No, it looks like getting a Phoenix now out of the Stargate, so perhaps fanning his opponent a little bit, trying to get some early Void Rays to help beef up his army at the beginning, and now switching to Phoenix and going to probably try and do some harassment. As I was talking about earlier, see Antimatter with a proxy pylon down here, I'm not sure, a scouting pylon maybe, to see when the expansion timing is going to be over here for DrHugh. So Antimatter will know about that. And DrHugh now actually, he is bringing his Stalkers around, perhaps just worried about this one Marauder in the back. Both players bringing their entire armies over here, possibly to deal with a single Marauder. Back here, it could be a good time for Antimatter and UteRaptor to try and press the front here, but we'll see actually if choboness, now we do see this is going to be an orbital command, so that could come into play later. It's always a tough call on Terran. I found myself wondering actually what I will normally do is I will put down an orbital command if my expansion is in more of a protected area, such as over here, where I will have time to bring army over to reinforce and possibly trap an opponent. But here is one. We'll see how this plays out for choboness, but I probably would have opted for a planetary fortress here, though he does have some serious siege tank defense. So, you know, these guys are all higher level players than me, so I'm not going to tell them what they should and shouldn't do, as DrHugh now and is trying to clean up this base. But look at all the Marauders and Marines on the field for Ute. Probably could have killed a few more of those Zealots. DrHugh now getting totally caught out of position with these Stalkers, and wow, that was a huge misplay right there from DrHugh. And now this Warp Prism is going to get killed by these Phoenix. Going to try and drop these Zealots off before it dies, and it is able to get two Zealots out into the mineral line. Are these Phoenix going to lift off these Zealots? Probably would be the right thing to do right now for Antimatter, but instead these Zealots are just reigning free on Ute's SCVs. Ute bringing his entire army back here to try and deal with these two Zealots, and those will quickly get shot down. But the damage has been done, as DrHugh lost a ton of his army trying to come all the way down here. That is what I was talking about with these expansions. They're pretty easily defended because there's such a long rush distance between the base and all the way down here. By the time you get your army down here, you can be split up. Like you saw, DrHugh's army was in a straight long line just running into the death of UteRaptor's Marines and Marauders. So it looks like Antimatter and UteRaptor are ready to try and make something happen. This will be extremely difficult to break. Antimatter does have a bunch of Phoenix out now. How many Phoenix does he have? He has 5, and he was saving that energy. Notice before I was telling him he should have used that energy on the Zealots. Maybe he knows better than me, because he could have been saving that energy to lift off these siege tanks, and what I was talking about with the Planetary Fortress might come into play here. We'll see if I'm right about that or not, as some more siege tanks now being thrown down and defenses at this base here. DrHugh is going for a double expand over here, so this really needs to be harassed quickly by Antimatter and UteRaptor, or otherwise they could be in a lot of trouble later on in this game. Though Antimatter does have the high yield fully going here, only 1 gas on that, but he is just adding some stalkers now to his army, adding 1 more Void Ray right here. He told his partner to wait 30 seconds so he could add some more reinforcements to this army, and now the press is going to come. As you see, the Marines and Marauders from UteRaptor and the Stalkers, Zealots, 1 Sentry, a few Void Rays, a bunch of Phoenix. So Antimatter with a very diverse army. It's going to come down to positioning, and can the Phoenix lift off these tanks? Are they even going to engage here? Yes, here come the Phoenix flying in, going to lift off a bunch of these siege tanks. And now these Stalkers need to press out, walling off these Marines. Now Marines and Marauders have stimmed up in the back, and the Void Rays are starting to charge up the Phoenix, trying to lift off all of these tanks. The Phoenix making a huge difference in that battle. If this had been a Planetary Fortress, that could come into play big right now, but instead, the army from UteRaptor and Antimatter are just breaking this entire defense. Some great Phoenix play there from Antimatter. The Void Rays are charged up. It looks like they're just now, some of them getting fully charged. And once those Void Rays get going in support of this army, that is just pretty much all she wrote. So very good timing on this attack by UteRaptor and Antimatter. The Phoenix play, a very strong play from Protoss against siege tanks, is not something you see done often enough. So nicely done from Antimatter, harassing with these Phoenix, supporting with the Void Rays, all charged up now in the base, just annihilating buildings. And the double expand down here from DrHugh was perhaps a little bit greedy, especially after he lost so much of his army trying to harass the expansion of UteRaptor. And that is going to be a GG from choboness. So it looks like that is going to be a game. I expect DrHugh to be giving the GG shortly. He does have these expansions now really fairly well saturated, but he does leave the game because the entire main has been annihilated. So well played there from Antimatter and UteRaptor. This game was sent to me by Antimatter, so thank you for that game. And one thing about the names when I'm posting, I think Antimatter, you have this in your name, and so many of these players do this, where they have these capitals, like every other letter is like a capital letter, and you know what? That is so difficult for me to keep track of and stuff. From now on in the titles, I am just going to straight up type it without bothering to deal with all these capital letters. Anyway, that is enough blabbing on and on. Thank you guys for watching. This is Irie StarCraft. Thumbs up my vids if you like my stuff, and peace out.